Hi and welcome, you live viewers, and we are going live at ABN Army Surplus. We are going to be recording the prepper segment for episode 286, and we're going to be talking here in just a few minutes with Gary here at ABN Army Surplus. We're going to be also recording the live promo that will air in the podcast that goes out on Wednesday. So. Joining us here in just a minute, he's out gathering things throughout the store. But joining us here in just a second will be Gary, of course, Gary Harpster, the manager here at ABN Army Surplus. There he is.
Welcome, everybody.
Okay, should we do like we normally do the live ad first?
Sure, works for me.
All right. Okay, here we go. Hey, and welcome to, let me try that. That doesn't work. I'm not bringing us into a segment. Hey, everybody, we're recording live at ABN Army Surplus as we do every Sunday. Gary, what's been up new with the store, man?
Well, as most people are aware, the frigid weather's gotten all the way down to darn near the Gulf Coast. I mean, Texas is freezing, and of course, we are up here too. So we got in our new shipment of Mickey Mouse boots. Most of the guys in the military are familiar with them. They may find them hard to find. Hell, we're finding them hard to find. I had to search the country just to get what I could. They're getting slimmer and slimmer because they're not made much anymore. For those of you on YouTube that are actually going to see us, you remember these old Mickey Mouse boots? Well, we have some in stock. I've ordered a bunch more, what I could get my hands on. So that's one of the things that anybody who's out in cold weather, I don't care if you're ice fishing, you're just plowing, running the snowblower in front of your yard, anything you really need a good cold weather boot. The Mickey Mouse boots in the military are about the best you're ever going to find. We've got a good stock of those in. 12s I haven't been able to find anywhere in the country. Believe it or not, I can't find any 12s, but I've got 14s, I've got 13s, I've got 8s, I've got 9s and 10s. I've got all the sizes except 12. So that's one of the things we wanted to let everybody know that we've got here in the store. The other thing here, it's just sitting in front of the boots, if I could reach for it. Something else a lot of guys in the military will remember and probably wish you had at your local store. Can't find them at Sears or JCPenney's. These are the fur-backed big mittens, which are absolutely wonderful. We were able to get our hands on about 40 of these this year, of which 10 have gone out the door in just the last 3 days since I've had them. And I may be able to get some more, but they are also same thing, not manufactured anymore, so they're a very limited quantity on them. But those are 2 items we have new in the store. And the third one I wanted to let everybody know about, they've asked down sleeping bags. Have been flying out the door here the last couple days, and I have 2 left. Now, these are 2 really good shape down sleeping bags. They're $175 each. They come with the covers. And when they were brought in, of course, we take them over and have them dry cleaned. So they are all ready to go. And I'm looking at them $175 each, or if somebody's hot for both of them, they can have both for $300. The boots, the mittens, the sleeping bags, of course, we will ship worldwide. You just need to give us a call or send us an email.
So if they want the sleeping bags, or these mittens are actually really cool.
They are wonderful.
Yeah, or the Mickey Mouse boots. They want any of these things. How do they get in touch with you?
First, you can always call us 605, the area code 357-8855 is the store number. And or you can reach me at Gary@abntactical.com. That's ABN like an airborne, Alpha Bravo November Tactical.com.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'll get my camera out. We'll get pictures of all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Down sleeping bags are up there too, so sure.
Okay. All right. And then prepper segment. Are you ready to fly on this one?
I am ready.
Okay. Hey, and welcome back. Again, we're recording live at ABN Army Surplus. And as we've been doing lately, we're recording a prepper segment. You can come down and join us every Sunday. We do this right after we record our live show. We record this prepper segment. Gary and I sit down and talk about things that most preppers should be aware of. And this week, what are we going to be talking about, Gary?
Well, first and foremost, our disaster class is Wednesday nights, our emergency and disaster preparedness class, Wednesday evening, live here, no cost. And that starts rolling around 7:15. We start the class around 7:30. I've had a few phone calls already, so we know the class is a go for this week. Let's talk a little bit about food preparation and packaging for long-term use.
Okay.
A couple of things that I want to bring to folks' attention, because I get a lot of questions in the store on this. Folks will come in and they'll say, well, I was over at so-and-so when I saw those 10-pound cans. They were pretty inexpensive in comparison to many of the other products out there. The individual packets that are contained, like Wise Food, and several of the other manufacturers always appear to be more expensive than a 10-pound can. And we do on occasion, and we will order them for a customer, the 10-pound cans, for example, and I prefer Mountain House. That's my preference in that 10-pound category.
Right.
But usually, unless you're prepping for 15 or 20 people, a 10-pound can, I mean, raise your hands in our audience that got a mom and a dad or just a couple and a couple kids, and you rehydrate 10 pounds of peas at one time. Do you really want to eat them?
Well, now, okay, rehydrating, that means you get their 10 pounds before you rehydrate them, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a 10-pound can, what they refer to, the restaurant style can. Yeah.
So how many pounds after rehydration?
It's a good question. I'm gonna have to look the answer up for that, but a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking as a dad, well, grandpa now, but it wasn't that long that I was a dad of teenage sons.
Yeah.
Man, yes, teenagers can eat a lot, but 10 pounds.
That's it. Well, and 10 pounds of beans or 10 pounds of anything in those stored cans, and unless you're prepping for a pretty sizable group of people, or you have a way to reseal and repackage the product, you have to take into account the consideration that you're probably going to be without refrigeration. Now, granted, if it's like the weather is out here where it's 0 degrees, you could rehydrate 10-pound can of beans and you could just stick the leftovers outside in a Tupperware box and you could continue to eat them for a week or two. Again, do you really want to eat the same thing for a couple of weeks? But that's the consideration. You're going to be out there. You're not going to have any refrigeration. You're characteristically not going to have anything to store in unless you are prepared to repackage it. It is far more convenient to look at those things like the way Wise does their product, which is individually packaged and then packaged in a container that's stackable. There are a couple companies out there besides Wise. Again, we prefer Wise. Doesn't mean there aren't other companies out there that do it. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's a lot more convenient because they've already broken the packages down to a 2-person, 4-person size meal. And between the vegetables, the fruit, the meat, and the main entree and or breakfast, you're a lot better doing that, which gets you closer to your normal behavior. So even during the disaster, you're not parting away too much from what you normally used to do. So that's number one. Go ahead. You said, look like you had a question. Okay. Number two, want to talk about food preparation for the stuff that you would buy at the grocery store. Okay. And one of the gadgets that we have and have been using for years and absolutely love it is that meal preparer where you're sealing the bags. That little machine that you can buy. You see the advertisements on
the vacuum sealers?
Vacuum sealer. Yep. There's a couple things I want to talk about with the vacuum sealer. We use one, and it's great. We can break down a lot of food product and seal it in individual servings for that, or individual sit down. So if we want to take macaroni and cheese, or we want to take a rice, or we want to take something like this already prepared, we can vacuum seal them with smaller containers.
Right.
Now, there's two disadvantages to that. One is the vacuum seals do not always hold. Now, rule of thumb is it's supposed to, it's guaranteed to, but in a prepper situation, if you open up a box and you put 100 things in there sealed, they're not all going to be sealed. That's just the reality of it. But the big place that we use the sealer, cat and dog food. Instead of trying to store a huge 55-pound bag of dog food, we buy the 50-pound bag, we break it in literally into meals for our dogs. We've got 2 dogs, so we make packets that are just big enough for the dogs for a meal, and every packet is a meal. They eat twice a day, and we just spend an evening watching TV, chatting, and we seal them all up. We put them in a container, and then we know we've got dog food that's, because most of the dates on a dog food bag will say a year or year and a half, maybe 2 out at the most. If you break them down individually and seal them, then you know you've got, like, we package up a year's supply for our dogs. I know folks are going to maybe do 30 or 90 days or 180 days. We package up a year. But that's really handy. It takes up a little bit more space, but it's a lot easier to deal with.
Okay.
So between those 2 things, the third thing I get a lot of questions on, and there are a lot of videos on YouTube about this. People think that they can go ahead and store things like oats and wheat and rice in really large quantities in containers, and they can container it themselves. And across the board, there's a pretty regular, and I say YouTube videos because you can watch them on YouTube, where that product goes bad. Okay. Those products, such as wheat, are going to have, I'm not exactly sure what you call it, but I'm going to say bugs in it.
Right.
Okay. And even if you don't open the container, stuff grows in there that you don't want to deal with. Okay. So it is not uncommon for somebody to package up a 25-pound box of wheat, thinking that they'll use it to be able to bake under prepping conditions, and find out that, in fact, they can't. They can't grind it because they open it up, it's full of grubs. It's pretty disgusting to have that happen to your prepper supply. So think about things like that when you're prepping, that the raw goods product that a lot of companies pitch is not necessarily your best choice. You might be better off buying enriched flour in 10-pound bags or 25-pound bags, and then resealing that in something that's going to give it a long term.
Well, and let's go right back to, and Susan and I do have a lot of experience with those vacuum sealers, but let's go right back to what we were talking about before. One thing that is wonderful for flour specifically is vacuum packaging.
You bet.
That does, if there's no air, nothing's going to grow.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. The couple of products that are good for that: sugar.
Yep.
Flour, salt, rice, and noodles. You know, so excuse me. There are a couple of real good uses for that product. And then last but not least, do-it-yourselfers. A lot of them do canned. A lot of questions we're getting, and I'm darn near thinking about maybe carrying some dehydrators here, because people are kind of interested in what would it be like if you dehydrated your own fruit, dehydrated your own meat, that kind of thing. And I don't have any personal experience in actually working with a dehydrator. I know many people who have, some that swear by it. And it might be kind of fun if there's a class in your neighborhood. I think we're going to try for that in January. We're going to actually try to get a dehydrator in her, practice with it for a couple of weeks, and then maybe we'll throw that in our disaster prep class as something folks might like to try to do. A fun activity for the family on a cold Saturday. You know, go down, pick up some stuff at your local grocery store, do a little dehydration, see how it works for you.
Susan and I did dabble with that. Oh, this has been years ago. We tried making our own jerky.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we just didn't find the right spice combination or what went wrong there, but yeah, it was okay. You know, we dehydrated some banana chips, and we enjoyed those, and there were some other things. Dehydrated kiwi is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
there's one I'll put on my list to try. I like kiwi.
But yeah, we just, I mean, it wasn't interesting enough for us, and we do our preps in other ways other than dehydration. So we just decided to go on another route, but it can be very effective, and dehydrated stuff is extremely light.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things that and not necessarily a bubble that an individual can make, but I'll tell you, our most popular thing for kids in our preppers classes, Wise Food dehydrates strawberries, and they have a dehydrated yogurt.
Oh, okay.
And when you reconstitute and then mix the two of them, put them in the refrigerator for a half an hour, the kids think they're eating ice cream and strawberries.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
it's really, really good. So that's something that folks might like to try on their own, or at least if they don't want to try it on their own, they've got another idea for something they could buy in a grease. You have to remember to keep the things like sauces, flavoring, desserts, that type of thing on your prepper list. Don't just assume pastas and meat. You know, make sure you've got some vegetables in there. Make sure you've got some of the other tasty stuff people are going to like on your menu.
Right. Well, it's one thing to have food, but for a lot of us, the enjoyment is in the flavor of the food. And believe me, one thing, if I've been in some stressful situations in my life, and when the extreme stress is there, and you're looking at a real bad situation, you cannot underestimate what a good meal can do for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And last but not least, everywhere they're the Coast Guard approved what they call ration bars is something I think everybody should have in their food mix. And when you're talking about preparation, because they're already double sealed and they're a high calorie type thing, there's a couple companies, DAC and SOS, that make them. We carry both DAC and SOS.
Mm-hmm.
One's a coconut based, one's kind of a honey based, but it's a snack bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder, it's more condensed than your average granola bar that you might buy at the convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
5-year shelf life on them. Easy to pack up. Don't forget putting snacks into your food package as well.
Right. And just, I mean, for those that are into prepping, have been into prepping for a while, they're probably old hat at this, but it never, ever hurts to get a little reminder. And for new preppers, this is something you want to keep in mind as you get into it. Rotation,
absolutely. Rotation, particularly when people look at the prepping from a point of view of being able to mix your long-term food supplies with your short-term food supplies. And when I say short-term food supplies, in our household, for example, we've got like 48 cans of tuna on the shelf all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 48 cans of Spam on the shelf all the time. I know, but my wife doesn't even like to see me cook it in the kitchen, but I do love Spam. And the canned turkeys and canned chickens, SpaghettiOs for the kids, raviolis, all that kind of stuff. That's your short-term supply. You should have enough of that in the house and then rotate it, like you say, through your normal family budget to be able to add to your long-term food supplies. So when you put a package of food supplies, yes, it's easy to go down to a store like ours, and if you've got the money, there's nothing wrong with that. Write a check for $5,000 and get 90 days or 180 days worth of food supplies and just pack it in the basement. But if you use a little bit of your normal skills from shopping and rotation on the shelves, and maybe some food packaging through a Seal-A-Meal, that type of thing, and you add all those things into your prepping mix, you could do it a lot less expensively than you think. If you're a starter, it'll cost you a lot less than you think it's going to cost you. and you're going to have a little bit better variety and be able to do many different things with your menu planning than you were thinking about before.
You bet.
Okay. For today's broadcast, that's probably it. I think we're going to get some questions. Anybody questions, email me, Gary at abntactical.com if you got questions about the prepper biz. Or if you have suggestions or ideas of something that you'd like us to see or add to a broadcast, we would love to have your input on these segments as to what you like about them, and I guess what you don't like about them. But there's nothing I can do about Paul's looks if you're watching on YouTube. It's just the way it is. But thank you, folks. We hope you enjoyed this little segment on food preparation and storage, and we'll see you next time.
I figured you were doing a good enough job. Why not just run with it?
All right.
All right. Well, I do want to thank our live viewers, and we will be back doing this again next week.